If you've been paying any attention to crypto lately, there's one name you just can't escape: Aster. It feels like it just appeared out of thin air, and now, suddenly, it's the talk of the town. But to really get why there's so much buzz, you kind of have to look at the giant it's trying to take on.
Right. So, what's the deal? Why is Aster suddenly everywhere? What's the story behind this crazy, out of nowhere hype for a new decentralized exchange? Well, the answer, and this is the interesting part, isn't really about Aster itself.
To get to the bottom of this whole Aster thing, we've got to take a step back and look at its biggest competitor, Hyperliquid. This platform is basically the blueprint for what Aster wants to become. And believe me, this is where the story gets really good. Okay, so Hyperliquid isn't just some other platform. This thing is a beast. It's a perpetual DEX that completely changed the game, setting a bar for growth that honestly seemed impossible to reach. And the numbers, well, the numbers are just mind-blowing. Let's just start with its daily trading volume. We're talking about $2.7 billion, with a B. To put that into perspective, that's more action than a lot of traditional stock exchanges see in a day, all happening on one decentralized platform. Just wild. And then you've got the open interest, sitting at a huge $4.25 billion. Now, if you're not a big trader, open interest is basically the total value of all the active contracts out there. Think of it as a measure of how much money and conviction is really in the game. Of course, when a platform blows up like that, the token follows. Its own token, which is perfectly named Hype, just skyrocketed from $10 to $60 in only 6 months. That's a 6x return, and that is the exact success story that's lighting a fire under what's happening right now with Aster.
So, we have this massively successful blueprint with Hyperliquid. But what's the link to Aster? Well, that brings us to the moment everything changed. Something I'm just going to call the CZ effect.
So what was it? With Hyperliquid already crushing it, what could possibly happen that would create so much excitement for a brand new competitor, seemingly overnight? It wasn't some new groundbreaking technology. It wasn't some huge partnership. It was something much, much simpler. And in the world of crypto, often a lot more powerful. A public shout-out from one of the most famous people in the industry. And that person was none other than CZ, the founder and former CEO of Binance, only the biggest crypto exchange on the entire planet. When a guy like that talks, the whole market stops and listens. And his public support for Aster was like throwing gasoline on a spark. The impact was just instant and absolutely massive. After CZ's tweet, Aster's token price exploded by over 350%. And let's be totally clear, at this point, this had nothing to do with new features or users. This was the market reacting to an endorsement from crypto royalty.
So that brings us to the heart of it all. What's the actual bet here? When people are piling into Aster right now, what's the logic? What's the play?
It actually boils down to a pretty simple idea. Investors look at Hyperliquid and they see the proven blueprint. It's dominant, it handles huge volume, and it made its early backers a ton of money. So the bet is that Aster, this new challenger with the massive credibility of CZ's backing, can just follow the exact same path and carve out a huge piece of the market for itself. Which all leads us to the final billion-dollar question that everybody in the market is asking. We've seen the blueprint, we've seen the catalyst, but can lightning really strike twice? So will it work? Can this CZ effect and all this insane hype actually turn into a real, sustainable, dominant platform? Or is this just a classic crypto flash in the pan? Because at the end of the day, hype is just rocket fuel. It's great for liftoff, but it can't keep you in orbit forever. Aster's long-term survival is going to depend on what comes next. Is their tech actually as good as Hyperliquid's? Can they build a real community that isn't just speculators? And will other big names follow CZ and throw their weight behind it? The real question isn't whether Aster can follow in Hyperliquid's footsteps. It's whether it can build its own path.